Hello dear viewers, my name is Nino and you're watching Nino's product reviews. And what is this, another camera? Yeah, I know, we've got a lot of these, but there are just so many new models coming out in 2016 and it's just so interesting to see all of them. And this time it's yet again a Wansview camera, 1080p outdoor one, so let's just move on to the unboxing and see what we got in there. First we have what looks like a quick installation guide with some nice pictures, or in English very nice. We get a CCTV sticker which will warn potential trespassers that they are going to be filmed, well, if they do so. An installation CD of course, and slightly longer manual, so it involves a lot more information if you want to read it. Generally using these cameras is not that hard. Personally, I didn't read much of it, I just took a brief look at it. And let's move on to the beef of the package, the actual camera. So as you can see, we have a lot of cables sticking out the back of it. Come on, there we go. So a lot of cables sticking out the back of it. This is quite normal for outdoor cameras of this grade. This is a very high quality camera, and of course it offers several different things, including the possibility to attach it to, let's say, a fire alarm system or something else which would make it record as well. And there we have the actual cables. As I mentioned, you'll see the reset button is here as well. Video cable is very standard fare when it comes to these cables, but it pretty much offers everything that you need to plug it in. As we can see, we have not one but two of these alarm system cables, which is pretty cool. Now let's move on to further inside the package. What we have here, oh, it's yet another of these quite cheap line cables. A screwdriver, that's pretty nice. The antenna and the quality control sheet. But back to line cable, I always say, and I'll repeat myself, don't use these permanently. Use them to set the camera up, but then get a proper one if you want the cable which you use to connect the camera to, not to. And Wi-Fi antenna, of course, one of the better ways to use the camera if you don't want too many cables, although in this case really I would recommend the line cable. It's a more solid way to use cameras in general. If it's something on the inside like indoor cameras, then the Wi-Fi works just fine, but when we have outdoor camera, the walls and stuff might affect the reception if you don't have a really powerful router. In any case, this is what's inside the package. As you can see, it isn't little. We have quite a lot of stuff here, but there are a few other things that I want to show you. Now, as you can see, this camera looks pretty sealed. We do know that it supports a micro SD card, but we don't know where it goes in. Well, it won't be a surprise when I tell you that you have to open it for that, but it's not a problem. You don't void your warranty with this one if you open it, so that's pretty cool. And opening it on itself is very easy. Anyone can do it with the included screwdriver. All you need to do is unscrew these 3 screws on each side here in the back, and then what's gonna happen is the camera will just slide out. Now obviously I'm gonna show you that because I know that some of you feel a little bit insecure when it comes to disassembling such expensive devices. It's not that expensive, but it isn't quite cheap either. In any case, you have to gently pull it out because there are a few cables which remain, but as you pull it out gently, you will see the micro SD card here on this side. Now I'm gonna try to focus the camera in a way that allows you to see it. Let me just move it to the side. There it is. I know how well it can be seen, but it snaps out once you push it. Just pretty standard fare, and there you have it. You even get a 4 GB micro SD card in there. And is it 4? I think so, yeah. In any case, it's a very nice addition, and you can of course replace it with up to 64 GB confirmed. I don't know about more, but someone told me that they used the 64 GB camera SD card and was no problem at all. Now another reason why I have left it open is because sometimes, and this is not always the case, but I'm very happy to say that this was the case with this particular unit, sometimes the camera seems to show an image which is slightly distorted. 1080p just needs to feel much more smooth. So what you can do is you can set the focus manually. You've opened it, you replaced your micro SD card, might as well check if the focus is perfect. So I'm showing you on the top right what you can see, and sorry about the shakiness, the camera is being moved. You need to unscrew this button here, not button, this screw, and then you can just move this left and right, and it will have the effect that you will modify the zoom. What's wrong with me today? In any case, you just put the screw back on, and it will stay that way, and now you have perfectly shaped the zoom of the camera. And as always, I'm going to show you some of the software features of the camera. Now this won't be groundbreaking stuff. If you've seen my other reviews, this will seem very familiar, but I like to go through it anyway for people who are looking at this for the first time. So this is your main dashboard here for the camera, and you can see, you know, we have a very nice recording. This was a very dark day. I haven't adjusted any brightness, anything on the camera, so this is how it comes, except the focus a little bit, as I've shown you before, and it really looks great. I'm very happy. 1080p really do make a huge difference. So you have something to stop the video feed. You can modify several things up there, but for example the sound stuff doesn't work, obviously. Then you have what I would call a standard software zoom. It goes up to several levels, and thanks to the 1080p resolution, we really can get a lot of information from this. This option up here enables us to use several different cameras, and we'll look at them at the same time. We can also on the right side see that we have the different streams, 1, 2, 3, which are usually set up with lower quality with each stream. This has the effect that if you're using very slow internet for something, for example, you can still use it. These controls here for pan and tilt, etc., they don't work because this camera does not actually pan and tilt. It just stands and guards. And let's move on to the actual setup. Now we have the standard issue settings here, and you can see the SDFT stuff. So I was wrong earlier, it's not 4 gigabytes, it's 8 gigabytes, the micro SD card. Don't know what I was looking at. Then we have the time settings. Pan and tilt obviously is uninterested. The status LED I wouldn't really mess with, it works just well the way it is. And maintenance settings, so this is basically again rebooting and software firmware updates. So this is pretty standard fare here. We're gonna move on to the network settings. Now you don't really need to do much here either. It's pretty easy and self-explanatory. I'm currently using it in LAN, so I don't really need the Wi-Fi settings. The DDNS is an option, and you have also RTSP settings, which are very useful. I'm going a bit too fast here, I'm sorry about that, but there's just so much to say. Here we have the email settings, which will probably be the most interesting thing for you guys anyway, because this is when you can set up the camera to send you pictures on your email with alerts if something happens. Now you have the frequency here. I leave it at 50 Hertz. You can play around and see what works for you, and you can of course set up the different streams and of course the quality of each stream, although I would leave those as well. Usually you're gonna go with the first stream unless you have some kind of internet problems. Audio is not important, as we said, and here you can play around with the image. I can strongly recommend that, because as you can see on darker days you can increase the brightness here, and this makes it quite brighter, you know, and does make a difference. As you can see, in some cases will actually be very useful. You can increase the contrast if you like that. Now it's a matter of taste. I personally do like it a little bit more saturated, the colors a little bit more vivid, although it is not very true to nature. It works for me. We of course have a flip and mirror setting as well. Now the OSD setting is basically what you should see, for example the overlay for time. Now on the recording itself we're gonna see the date and time on the top right. This is pretty nice. I like to keep this one on. And the night vision I would not mess with either, simply because it works automatically very well, and of course you can set it however you like, but that's something that I wouldn't play with. You have IP filtering, and you can mask the area. Now the masking of the area is one of the more interesting feature. We've seen it in many other cameras, so this is not unique. You need to first start the setting, and then you can put up to 4 windows of different size here, which will cover parts of what you see. Now for all of you who haven't seen my other videos, the point of this is that sometimes there's stuff you don't want to see. And besides the fact that you might have a neighbor who's really obese and you don't want to see him stay in the sun, you might also just not want to film your neighbor's house to begin with, because that could get you in legal trouble. So in any case, this is quite useful, and since the camera does not pan and tilt, these will stay there. There's nothing that can move them unless you remove them or modify them, and they will appear as black blotches. And if your neighbor is like, hey, you're recording me, you can call him over and show him, or pull out your phone and show him, because you can control this camera from your phone as well, of course. Now we have the IO setting, and this is basically the the fire alert sensor that we spoke of. If you have any kind of such alarm, you know, you can connect it to those 2 cables. I showed you the green ones, and then you're gonna have triggering. Basically, when a fire alert is triggered, you will trigger also your camera and force it to record. Here we have up to 4 windows. where we can set different sensitivities, and this is basically your motion detection, as it says. You can say, okay, down here I want less sensitivity, up there I want more sensitivity. So the whole idea is that some parts where a lot of movement is seen, you don't want it too sensitive, otherwise it will just start recording like crazy. But on other parts you might want it where there's absolutely no movement. You say if anything passes through here, things should be recorded. So that's pretty much it. I just leave it open and have a one whole area because I got nothing to hide there. Audio detection is pretty cool as well, where it can start recording if it hears too many noises. And here are the interesting settings: snapshot emails, FTP server snapshot. Basically you can tell it to record and take pictures and save those on different areas at the same time or separately. And also you have the IO setting. You can choose, as I've said, the independent triggers or joint triggers. I personally leave it at independent triggers, but because this will basically mean that if you do a joint trigger, it will mean that as soon as one of them detects, all of them start doing their thing, and it's just unnecessary in my opinion. Here you can of course set the times in which the alarm can be set up. For example, you can say I want it only during the night. Each day of the week you can do that, and it will arm itself automatically. Very useful and very convenient feature. Now the micro SD card setting here, you can't do much of it. You have a timing snapshot which can be saved on the micro SD obviously, and you can also save recordings of micro SD, and you can choose which stream should be saving there. Naturally, the higher the quality, the more space it will take, so either you want a really big SD card or choose a smaller stream. Now here we have the log on which you can see who's been touching and setting up the camera. In case multiple people have access, everything's being logged. And of course you have local recording settings. This is very useful. And let's go back to the live video for a second, because this is pretty much all there is to say about the camera. Now it seems to be loading a little bit here. This is because I messed around with some settings, but as you can see the camera is beautiful, so I really like this camera. Let's see a few more recordings. So while we're enjoying this beautiful crisp video here of a wonderful sunset, I want to address a problem that I have seen. Well, it's not necessarily a problem, it's more like something that I dislike in these outdoor cameras as of late. We have micro SD card support, but we need to actually disassemble these things to get a new micro SD card inside. Now here at least we get a very nice 8GB micro SD card, but for most people this will not be enough. Many just want to have it record on the actual micro SD card, and I can understand why. And I have a problem with this, and the reason for that being that for me this is very easy. Okay, this is not a personal gripe. I did it in approximately 5 minutes. It's super easy generally, but I know a lot of people who don't understand much of these things, who don't want to have to deal with this. They want to buy a camera, plug it in and get it to work. This is sadly very rarely the case to begin with. These things can sometimes seem very overwhelming, and you really do not wish to confuse the consumer and give him the feeling that he has to work overtime to get this thing to work. He has to disassemble it. This is a negative aspect, and as much as may not disturb me, I find it negative to begin with for most of the other consumers, and I am hoping somebody's watching this who is responsible for cameras of this type and would listen to me. Just create an extension, like another cable coming out of the camera with a small dongle at the end. How much could this really cost? And this is really going to improve the user experience so much, because the moment when the consumer doesn't have to, I mean, just imagine you have this camera in your house, you have drilled holes and everything, you got it ready, and then one day you decide, hey, I want to put a bigger SD card inside. So what do you need to do? You need to disassemble it and get it off the roof or wherever it is, open it up and put this thing in. But if you had this cable, this could be much easier. It could be sticking somewhere through your wall on the inside or something like that. You could pull out the micro SD card and plug it into your PC and get it working. So this is my minor gripe that I have. Other than that, this is a great device. I can recommend it to all of you. Don't be afraid to open it. It's not scary. You're not gonna break it. And if you're anyone who makes these cameras and by any chance stumbled upon my review, please listen to what I'm suggesting. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if that was the case, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you want to support my YouTube channel further, you may click on the Patreon side on top, or you can also use the Amazon link that I've provided in the description to buy something within 5 minutes after clicking on that link. It really helps me, guys, and I'd be really grateful if you did so. In any case, thanks for watching, and I hope I'll see you on the next video.